Imagine a world where every day feels like a battle, where the weight of responsibility rests squarely on one person's shoulders. A single mother wakes up every morning, knowing the road ahead is filled with challenges, financial struggles, emotional stress, and the constant pressure to be everything for her children. But what if I told you that despite all of these obstacles, this mother is determined to build something bigger than herself, a legacy that will change the future for her kids? In a world where the odds seem stacked against her, she is rewriting the narrative. She is defying expectations, proving that it's not where you start, but where you're willing to go. With every setback, she learns, adapts, and presses forward, one step at a time. Her journey is not just about survival, it's about creating a foundation for her children's dreams to take flight. But, as you'll see, this fight is far from over. The stakes are high, and even though the finish line may seem within reach, unexpected twists threaten to derail everything she's worked so hard for. Will she be able to overcome the final hurdle and secure her family's future? Or will the pressure prove too much to bear? As the days pass, our single mother pushes forward, her every decision weighed down by the relentless gravity of responsibility. She wakes up early, often before the sun rises, to make sure her kids have everything they need. Breakfast is hurried, school bags are packed with barely a second to spare, and by the time her children leave for school, she's already working her second shift, whether it's a freelance job, running her own small business, or working extra hours at a part-time gig. There is no break, no time for herself. But it's not about self-care in her world. It's about providing, about creating a life for her children that's better than the one she was handed. Every night she falls asleep with the weight of the day on her shoulders, but she can't rest long. The phone rings in the middle of the night, an unexpected expense, a bill she didn't anticipate, or a family emergency. She must react, solve problems, and make things work. And still, she remains driven, refusing to let the challenges of today define the future. Yet, it's not just the financial strain that haunts her. It's the emotional toll of trying to be both the mother and the father figure. Every milestone her children reach, she celebrates, but deep down, there's a pang of sadness. They miss out on having both parents at the sidelines cheering them on. There are days when she sees other families' parents laughing together at the park, or sitting together at dinner, and she wonders if her children will ever feel whole. Will they grow up with the sense of security she never had? Will they understand the sacrifices she makes every single day? As her kids grow older, the stakes only get higher. One of her children begins to struggle in school, and her heart sinks. The thought of her child facing a future with fewer opportunities than she dreamed for them eats at her. But there's no time to dwell. She needs to find a tutor, adjust her schedule, and somehow make everything work. Every small decision feels monumental because she knows that even one mistake could set everything back. Meanwhile, the pressures outside of the home begin to mount. Her part-time job, the one that's been keeping the lights on, is no longer enough. The company she works for announces layoffs, and suddenly, her position is at risk. Panic starts to creep in, but she won't let it show. She's been through hard times before, and each time, she finds a way to climb back up. But this time, the stakes feel higher. There's a sense of impending change, of uncertainty that threatens to unravel everything. On top of all this, there's the nagging worry that she's running out of time. Time to build the foundation she dreams of for her kids. Time to save enough money for their futures. Time to leave behind a legacy that will stand for generations. But there never seems to be enough hours in the day. The stress keeps her up at night, her mind racing as she goes over every plan, every possibility, every opportunity she might have missed. Its at this moment, when it feels like everything might fall apart, that a glimmer of hope appears. She meets someone, a mentor, a person who has walked a similar path. This person sees her drive, her determination, and offers a lifeline, a chance to invest in herself, to learn the skills she needs to not only secure her family's future, but to build something more. The offer seems too good to be true, and the mother finds herself standing at a crossroads. On one hand, it feels like her last chance to change everything. On the other, it feels like a risk too great to take. What if it fails? What if this new path leads her further from her goals instead of closer? This new opportunity comes with a cost: time, money, and emotional energy she doesn't have. She can't afford to fail, but she can't afford not to try. And so, she makes the difficult decision to move forward, placing her faith in a plan that promises the future her family deserves. But things aren't as simple as they seem. The deeper she dives into this new venture, the more obstacles she faces. Her schedule becomes even tighter, with late-night study sessions and new challenges in the business she's building. And the more she gives, the more she wonders if she's giving up too much. Her children, once her greatest source of strength, begin to feel the absence of their mother even more keenly. They need her too. One day, her child's grades slip further, and the guilt overwhelms her. She wonders if she's doing the right thing. Has she been too focused on the future? Have her sacrifices created distance between her and the very people she's trying to protect? The internal conflict grows. She's building a legacy, yes, but is it a legacy her kids will actually want? Is it one they can even appreciate if it costs them so much of their mother's time, attention, and presence? Outside forces complicate matters further. A family emergency pulls her back into the fold, demanding her time and energy in ways she never expected. The person who has been offering support now faces their own crisis, and suddenly the lifeline she was depending on begins to fray. And then there are the doubts, the creeping thoughts that maybe, just maybe, all of this is an impossible dream. What if she's chasing something that isn't meant for her? The weight of responsibility becomes crushing. With every step forward, it feels like the ground beneath her is shifting, threatening to swallow her up. Her business seems like it's on the verge of collapse. She can't keep up with the demand, and the bills continue to pile up, threatening to drain everything she's worked for. Even the children's schoolwork is falling behind, and she can no longer give them the help they need. She's spread so thin there's barely any time to breathe. Despite it all, she keeps going, one foot in front of the other. The dream of building a better life for her kids is still alive, but now, more than ever, it feels like a distant, elusive goal. Her inner strength pushes her forward, but she wonders how much longer can she keep going. How many more sleepless nights can she endure before the weight becomes too much to carry? But just when it seems like things might break, a surprising opportunity arises. Someone notices her potential, someone who's willing to invest in her future, to give her the financial support she needs to finally launch her business. But there's a catch. To take this offer, she must walk away from everything she's built so far. It's a chance to leap forward, but it means abandoning everything she's worked tirelessly for. The tension reaches its peak. Will she take the leap, or will she stay the course and fight to keep what she has? What will this decision mean for her children, her future, and the legacy she's determined to build? As the choice looms, she's faced with the most difficult question of all. Is it possible to balance the present with the future? Can she build a legacy without losing the very things that matter most: her children, her peace of mind, and her sense of self? The decision has yet to be made. The weight of it all presses down on her, and the story is far from over. The stakes have never been higher, and the future remains uncertain. The days following the offer were filled with a sense of tension that weighed down heavily on her. Every decision she made seemed to carry the gravity of her entire future, and yet she couldn't shake the thought that no matter what choice she made, something would have to give. The balance between her dream for her children's future and the sacrifices she'd already made seemed to be slipping through her fingers like sand. Could she truly have both? Could she build the legacy she'd longed for without losing her connection to them? Was it possible to create something that would ensure they would never have to face the same struggles again, without the risk of abandoning them in the process? She spent hours thinking, pacing the house late into the night, talking with her mentor, asking questions she hadn't dared to ask before. Every conversation seemed to lead back to the same place. The choice to either leap into the unknown and invest everything into her business, or to keep pushing forward with what she had, slowly, steadily, but without the dramatic changes she'd hoped for. The safe route might guarantee some security, but the dream was always just out of reach. The bold leap, on the other hand, carried its own risks she wasn't sure she was ready to take. In the midst of this uncertainty, her children's needs only seemed to grow more pressing. Her youngest came to her one evening, sitting beside her on the couch, with a look of quiet concern in their eyes. "Are we going to be okay, Mom?" they asked, their voice small and uncertain. It was a question she had been asking herself for years. She smiled, masking the worry she felt, and pulled them into a hug. "Course we are," she whispered, though the words didn't fully comfort her. But how could they know the depths of her doubt? How could they understand the weight of the decisions hanging in the air? That moment, more than any other, crystallized her thoughts. It wasn't just about her. It wasn't just about her dreams, her hopes, or her fears. It was about them, about their future, about the legacy she would leave behind. Her mind made up, she knew what had to be done. It was time to take that leap, to trust in the possibilities that were waiting for her on the other side. But taking that leap didn't mean leaving her children behind. It didn't mean sacrificing them in the pursuit of her dreams. It meant finding a way to balance it all, investing in her future, while still being the mother they needed. She wasn't going to abandon her family's needs, but she couldn't deny that this was the opportunity that could change everything for them. The business could be the key to their financial freedom, to their education, to a future without the constant struggle she had known for so long. The next few months were a whirlwind. She made the decision to go full-time into her business, investing what little savings she had left into resources, mentorship, and scaling up her operations. It wasn't easy. There were countless nights of doubt, setbacks, and unexpected hurdles. The emotional toll was real, and at times, it felt as though the weight of the world was crushing her. But she kept pushing forward, one step at a time. Every small victory felt like a triumph. Every challenge became an opportunity to learn and grow. Her children, though they didn't fully understand the intricacies of her business, noticed the change. There were still moments of doubt, moments when they wished she could be home more, when they missed her presence. But she had found ways to include them in her journey. Whether it was showing them the early stages of a new project or letting them help with small tasks at home, they began to see that the work she was doing was for them too. She was building something for their future, something that would give them opportunities she never had. But even with the changes in her life, the doubts still lingered. Was she doing enough? Was she present enough for her children? Every success in her business came with the bittersweet realization that time was fleeting, and the moments with her kids, once so abundant, were becoming fewer and farther between. There were times when she would pause in the middle of a project, hearing their laughter from the other room, and she'd feel a pang in her chest. They were growing up, and she couldn't hold on to their childhood forever. Her mentor continued to offer support, reminding her of the bigger picture. "You're doing this for them," they would say. "You're not just building a business, you're building a future. And your children will grow up to see the sacrifices you've made." Slowly, the words began to sink in. This wasn't about perfection. It wasn't about being everything at once. It was about making a difference in their lives, even if it meant imperfectly navigating the journey. One of the biggest breakthroughs came when she realized that success wasn't just about financial gains. It wasn't about building a big empire or having a thriving business at the cost of everything else. The real success lay in the lessons she was teaching her children: resilience, hard work, the value of perseverance, and the power of dreaming big. They were watching her, learning from her every step, and even in her moments of doubt, she was showing them that failure wasn't the end. It was simply another step toward success. Her business continued to grow. The risks she had taken began to pay off, but it wasn't without sacrifice. There were still struggles there, always would be, but the direction she was heading in was clear. She could see the future unfolding before her, and it was one she could share with her children. They began to thrive as well. Her child, who had struggled in school, began to find their footing, not because of any single intervention, but because the whole family was learning to adapt and grow together. The balance she had sought was slowly coming into focus. There were moments of joy as well. Her children, once uncertain and unsure, began to take pride in the work their mother was doing. They helped celebrate her successes, big and small, and they understood that the sacrifices they had made weren't just for material things. They were for a future full of opportunities. As she watched them grow and evolve, she couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. She had created a future for them that was rooted in love, sacrifice, and hard work. Looking back, she realized that it wasn't just about the business. It was about the journey, the growth, the learning, the challenges. Every step had been a part of something bigger. She hadn't just built a legacy for her children, she had built one for herself as well. A legacy of strength, of resilience, and of the unwavering belief that anything was possible, no matter the odds. Her story was far from over. There were still challenges ahead, still moments of doubt and fear, but she had learned that it was all part of the process. She had learned to embrace the uncertainty, to take risks, and to trust in herself and in her children. The future wasn't set in stone, but the foundation she had built was strong. It was a foundation that would carry them all forward, one step at a time. And as she stood on the precipice of what was to come, she knew one thing for sure. The legacy she was building was more than just a dream. It was a reality, and it was just beginning.